TV KPM.
Right, that's
Right.
exciting. Shall we have our lesson
All
started?
right, let's go. If everyone is ready, we are going to quickly have a look at this slide. And I'm sure most of you already recognize and remember the fact that there are 6 short stories. Specifically, we are going to look at embracing your shadow for today's lesson. All right? Let's take a quick look at what most of us already know. Upon reading this short story, it begins with a rather tense moment. There is somehow the feeling of frustration, disappointment, and anger that takes place in this conversation between the narrator and his wife, Rose. So you've got a husband and a wife. We sort of can guess that they are unhappy with each other, but we're not sure why. But when we read further on, the text will show to us that a lot of the blame seems to lie in the hands of the husband. Okay? No bias there, just statement of facts. All right? It's the men. Okay? The readers, upon reading this text until the end, will have a lot of revelation being shown or given to them as they go into the husband's mind. He shares with the readers a lot of the thoughts that he has and the decisions that he has made over the years throughout his marriage, throughout his married life to Rose and family life, starting with the meeting of the mysterious woman.
That does
Exciting?
sound mysterious.
Mysterious?
Very mysterious.
Okay. So, upon reading this short story, there are 3 major characters that we will read about. The first major character that we will meet is the husband himself, or the narrator, who's telling you a lot of what happens in this short story. So we refer to him as the narrator. He is the husband to Rose and father to Luna. We don't know a lot about what he does, where you're referring to occupation perhaps, but so much information is provided where his emotions are concerned. He shares with us a lot about what he thinks, what he feels. And a lot of those feelings are focused towards the women in his life, his wife, his daughter, and the mysterious woman. Okay? He falls in love with this female stranger despite the fact that they don't glance at each other beyond 3 seconds. As he says, I remained forever captivated. And that memory has never left him. And when we read the story up to the present moment, the narrator says, I never thought of it as cheating. She is in his mind constantly, Hanif, but he says, I am not cheating on my wife. That's the narrator there, okay? At the end of the short story, he feels as though what he's done is what's best for him. As he says, now I know you are the true love of my life. The second character that we read about is Rose. As I'm sure most of you know, she is married to the narrator. And despite the fact that very little is revealed regarding Rose, we can actually gauge that she is a sensitive and intuitive woman. And they do say a woman's gut instincts is never wrong. She seems to realize that her husband's attention is always somewhere else, towards someone else, right? And so he says, right, in his thoughts, my wife Rose must have sensed the secret place you occupy in my heart, right? Some of you may be wondering, if this is true, if she has realized this, does that mean the narrator never loved her? No, not at all. In fact, if you read the text with your classmates, with your teachers, you will find that very clearly in this text, the narrator continuously expresses his love, his admiration towards her. So that's the bigger question mark, isn't it? What exactly happened? Here you have in front of you, within your grasp, within your hug and embrace, a woman or a wife who already loves you, right? But he says, Rose became not only my loving wife, but the mother of my child. We get more information regarding the narrator and how he feels towards his wife, right? The third major character that we read about is the shadow. We don't know who she is. We don't know what her name is. We only know that he met her 18 years ago by chance. Look at what he says. Something about you set my heart fluttering. And the physical description of what she looked like at that moment, the 3-second encounter, has never left him. She is constantly the focus of his thoughts. He says, I had 2 girlfriends before I met Rose, but you can guess who I benchmarked Rose against. So we realize then that he constantly thinks about her. Hanif, what
Yes.
would you say to someone that you don't know suddenly showering you with a declaration of affection? How would you respond?
I think it would be quite perplexing on that
Perplexing?
matter. Yes.
Take you by surprise?
Take me by surprise, and I'll be very, perhaps unsure of what to do or what to say.
All right. Let's take a look at one of my students, see whether her answer matches yours.
Right.
If a complete stranger declared love to me, teacher, firstly, I would be in shock. I would probably ask them who they are and how they know me. Maybe, after I say thank you, I would state clearly I would be more comfortable being friends with them instead of doing anything else. Secondly, I would also tell them I appreciate their confession. It's just that it is not something I am looking forward.
All right, that was a very interesting answer by our pupil here. So it kind of like matches my answer that was perplexed, and she's also
Right.
shocked.
Right. Okay, let's move on. We've seen 3 major characters. Let's look now at 3 storytelling devices that we come across as we read Embracing Your Shadow. And I would have to say, Hanif, the use of flashbacks in this text is especially significant because the narrator constantly shares with us events that have happened. Events that are very much influenced by that first time he met her. Then you have monologues. He constantly speaks to himself. He constantly justifies his actions. He constantly talks to himself about the regrets he has, the feelings that he has towards the narrator. And then you also have symbolism as a device used to tell the story. Symbolism, as we know, is a device that we use where one person or one object, one color even, is used to represent a major idea. So red for courage, black for death, pink for cute love. Here you have embracing your shadow. The shadow there represents love that is beyond our grasp, love that is not real. And it says here, an imaginary lover in an imaginary relationship ultimately destroys what's there in reality. The relationship that he has with his wife Rose is destroyed, and we are left to wonder whether they will stay a happy family or not, right? So you've got their symbolism, and then earlier on we saw monologues. Do you speak to yourself?
I do sometimes.
You do? You
yes.
share your...
Positive reinforcements.
Okay, but look at this. when we look at the monologues of the narrator, he's sharing mostly all the things he feels he's done right. Obsessing over a woman he's only met
For
3 seconds?
18 years ago.
18 years ago, right? So we also looked at flashbacks, how you have going into the past, not all are happy memories, how you have the narrator justifying his actions, especially towards his family, by recalling all the beautiful moments. They're not even real. Those moments that he seems to share with his lover are all
In fantasy.
in his fantasy, right?
No, that is truly very interesting. I do have a question for you.
Oh, you have a
Puan
question
A.
for me,
Yes,
right?
because you did mention that the shadow is like a love that is beyond his grasp. If my perception is right, this shadow would be the lady that
The
he
shadow
met.
could be that mysterious stranger, but I've actually had one smart pupil ask me this question. Teacher, embracing your shadow doesn't need to only refer to the narrator searching for love from the mysterious stranger. Couldn't it be Rose yearning, longing for her husband's love, but realizing very sadly her husband's heart is somewhere else? And I found that mind-blowing. I looked at it as a beautiful interpretation.
Didik TV KPM